Okay, so hi everyone, it's Jeff from Jeff's English Coaching, and I know I haven't made a video in a long time. I'll explain that in this video. Also, I'm making this video on my phone. I'll see how it works out. So in this video, I want to talk about two things. First, I want to review really quickly how the face-to-face portion of the Trinity went this summer. I'll make another video, hopefully in more detail, in a couple of weeks, and I'll explain that in a minute or two. And then at the end, I want to talk about my vision for this channel. So, really quickly, the main reason I chose to do the Trinity was to be observed and get some feedback on my teaching. I had no idea what it would involve. Oh, wow. So I did the online portion, which lasted about 7 months and ended in the spring. And I still have to do the projects and the written exam. And I'm going to have to do part of the face-to-face again. I'll explain that in a little bit as well. So the face-to-face involves 4 weeks of observing and teaching. And when you teach, you're observed and then assessed. In a nutshell, I was completely disappointed in the face-to-face, just completely disappointed. And I'll explain why. We weren't allowed to observe our tutors or the other teachers, our colleagues, very much. I was disappointed in that. And there was a real disconnect between what we learned in the modules and the face-to-face practice. And I found that the face-to-face, which involved, like I said, observing very minimally and teaching and being assessed, and also workshops to give us help in terms of lesson planning and teaching. But everything was just completely disorganized. There were unclear objectives and standards, and I had to spend half my time and energy trying to figure out what to do. So I was disappointed for those reasons. There was minimal instruction and maximum criticism. I would never treat my students the way they treated us. So more specifically with regard to the teaching, you teach 5 or 6 times. There's a mock, meaning a practice lesson, and then 4 internally assessed lessons. If you pass the mock, you only have to teach 3 internally assessed lessons, and then the Trinity assessed lesson, in which somebody from the Trinity comes in and assesses you. And plus you have to write a journal about your teaching. The maximum score for a lesson is 40. To pass, you need a 20. To get a distinction, you need a 32. And we were working 15 hours a day, sleeping 2 or 3 hours a night, 5 days a week. Sometimes we came in on Saturdays. We had to write 10 to 12 page lesson plans. Like I said, it just really wasn't that clear to me exactly what they expected of us until they gave us feedback after we taught. And I just felt like we were just chasing our tails trying to figure out what to do. What else? Then there was the issue of American versus British English, which kept coming up. There were about 12 students, and I think 3 Americans, and 2 of the Americans, including me, were in my group. And for me, the issue of American grammar versus British grammar kept coming up, and I just couldn't figure out why these assessors didn't understand American English better. And in my final lesson, it also came up. I'll get back to that in a minute. So the failure rate for the face-to-face is normally 20%. In our group, it was 40%. 4 of us failed, or weren't passed. I don't think I failed because I failed the mock because I didn't know what they wanted us to do. But on my internally assessed lessons, I got a 28, 21, 31, 31. 31, that's 1 point away from distinction. So how did I go from 2 near distinctions to a fail? And I felt really good after my Trinity assessed lesson. I felt that it was my best lesson, or at least as good as the 2 previous ones. And each lesson involves your plan, and then you talk about your plan with the trainer or assessor, and then the delivery, and then evaluation. You evaluate your lesson. You're supposed to talk about what went well and what didn't, and what you could have done better, and things like that. And for the internally assessed lessons, after the evaluation, you get written feedback right away. For the external one, the feedback comes later, a few weeks later. I've already gotten the written feedback for my externally assessed lesson, but I haven't looked at it because honestly, I was completely physically and emotionally and every other way imaginable just devastated and disappointed after the face-to-face, and I just didn't really have it in me, and I still don't, to look at that feedback. I'll look at it in a couple of weeks and then make another video about that, and anything else about the face-to-face that I think of. But during the discussion with the assessor after my lesson, she kept talking about American English, because my lesson was on sports, specifically collocations with the verbs do, play, and go. Do yoga, play football, go swimming, things like that. And the students were mostly Spanish speakers. And in Spanish, they use the verb practicar for sports. That's the general verb that they use. And so in English, they often, with that L1 interference, overuse or misuse the verb practice for sports. And in British English, they don't use the verb practice with sports. In American English, we do. It's that American-British English difference again. So I was teaching do, play, and go, and a student asked about practice, and basically my answer was, well, we would say things like practice medicine, we could say practice different sports, but we normally don't. And I stand by that answer. Having done more research since I find that we do often say practice golf, practice yoga, etc. So my answer was correct. You can say it, but we normally don't. Okay? So if they're failing Americans because of these differences between American and British English, that's on them. That's on them. Yeah, I was completely disappointed. Like I said, the face-to-face was the main reason for my choosing to do the Trinity. And I have to go back and do the face-to-face again, in part. I have to do the assessed lesson again, and I'll have to teach a lesson or two before that to get to know the students. But I'm going to do it in Hong Kong. I'm here in Korea. I'm not going to travel all the way to Spain for that. And I honestly almost felt like just quitting the Trinity after that. But I'm not going to. I'm going to finish the projects. I teach at a university here in Korea, so I'm going to finish the projects this semester and or next semester, and then next summer go to Hong Kong and take the written exam and finish the face-to-face. It's not that I didn't learn a lot. I did, but I could have learned more, and it could have been a more pleasant experience, and I would never treat my students the way they treated us. I felt like a commodity. I felt like the trainers were just going through the motions, or they were burnt out. I don't think we should have been left to figure out everything on our own. It could have been much, much better. So that's my 10-minute brief overview of the face-to-face. Really quickly, my vision for this channel is to make videos for teachers and learners. I know most of my videos have been for teachers so far, but I want to make videos covering every aspect of English language teaching, ELT, grammar, listening, speaking, reading, writing, pronunciation, teaching theory, learning theory, book reviews, conferences, live lessons, request videos, lessons, teacher and learner issues in the classroom, issues that teachers like me who live overseas have to deal with, activities, classroom management, etc. And I want to make my videos better in terms of the quality as well, PowerPoint, split screens, fancy videos and so forth. And I want to make videos on a regular basis. So those are my plans and my thoughts. Let me know what you think. I look forward to your comments, questions, and suggestions. Thank you, and have a great day.